Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jack. I am the host of the Socially Yet Distanced podcast. Today I'm here with my buddy Badger. I'm going to let him pronounce his own name because I'm not Irish, and I try and I try and I try, and I even wear kilts and the whole deal, but I just can't get his name right. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. The Honorable Badger Odonoghue from Ireland, and proprietor of the Poetry Bus magazine and publication, and publisher of many very well received poetry books around the world. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jack. And you made a very good attempt at the name there. O'Donoghue is an accepted pronunciation. I go with O'Donoghue.
It's the Paddy part that gets me confused.
Oh, the Paedar. Yeah, that's Let's stick to Badger. Badger is easier. I get called all sorts of things. The funny thing is, my real name is Peter.
Is that right?
I was actually christened Peter Dominic, and Peter Dominic at the time, or shortly after, was a chain of wine shops. So the Peter Dominic, which was my real name, kind of got shelved a bit, and it was just Peter. But my mum and dad were Irish and everything, and my uncles always called me Paedar, which is Irish for Peter, and I thought that was a lot nicer. So I adopted Paedar, But Badger is,
I didn't realize it was Peter, but that kind of makes sense now.
Yeah.
Say Peter, like I would say here in the States, would be the same to you.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like a TH in it, like Paedar.
Yeah.
But anyway, it doesn't matter.
I like Badger.
You always works.
I personally like Badger myself. And I think
I like Badger.
Pretty well known around the world as the Badger, correct?
Oh yeah, round the world, round my bedroom, round the front room. That's as far as the limit of my fame goes. As far as the shed at the bottom of the garden.
Well, forget about fame for a minute. Let's talk about your history and how Poetry Bus came to be, and how you came to be a publisher, and what were all the steps that were involved in that whole process.
Started off doing a blog. I've always had sort of an interest in expressing myself by little bits of writing and everything, but a bit like yourself, I didn't get a formal education or anything, and I didn't read poetry, I didn't read books, but despite that, I liked to write little things. But anyway, blogs came along. I don't know if you remember blogs, Jack.
I do.
Yeah, well, I set up a blog that I would put little bits of writing on, and I'm big into photography, so photographs and stuff. But anyway, I started interacting with people, and a little group of us got together that wrote a bit, And so I decided to kind of galvanize that feeling and set up a weekly task where I would set up a prompt, often a photograph or just an idea, and everybody was to write a poem on that subject and then post them on their own page, but also put a link on my page.
Right.
And so it took off. It grew quite big. And after about a year of this, and it's such a diverse bunch, like from people in their 80s down to, people in their 20s, and male and female and everything in between. It was good. It was a good mix. And after a while, I started noticing that some of the poetry, I call it poetry, some of the writing was to my taste, what I would consider good. I mean, it's a very subjective kind of notion, but I thought these are quite good, but none of us would ever get published. So I thought, well, fuck it. Why don't we just publish it? And that was the idea. Then we did a magazine. I chose the poems and put them into a little stapled, virtually homemade magazine, and called it the Poetry Bus. After the weekly prompt, because it felt like we were all passengers on a journey,
right.
And something very utilitarian about a bus. It's very kind of working class, and you get all sorts of characters on buses and different types of people, and it's all a good kind of potpourri of humanity. So we called it the Poetry Bus, and it just evolved from there. That was a little staple together thing, and it evolved and got better, and it grew beyond a group. And kind of sadly, because blogs started dying, that group kind of started dying out, and I got a bit fed up of it, and I passed the onus on to them that other people would do the prompts. And that was a mistake, really, because eventually I just lost all control of it, and the blog stuff went away. But a magazine had been born, and it was flying, and it improved, and we had open submissions like worldwide.
Right.
Via the internet, you can reach people. So we got loads and loads of submissions from around the world, and it evolved into what it is today, which is like a nicely made, perfect bound, beautifully printed magazine.
Well, and having most copies of that particular magazine, the one thing I would say is that the art as well is just striking on a regular basis. I mean,
yeah,
and
I have my wife Colette joined in after a little while, and she was big into art, so she's great for finding the artwork. She sort of trawls through the internet and finds the art, but she also helps me choose the poems, which is great, because after a while I started finding it quite hard. You start second guessing yourself, and it's nice to have another voice to say, is this good?
Right.
And get their opinion. And I think it works an awful lot better now. And we kind of read them independently together, sitting together, but we read them independently, quietly. And we have like 3 bits of paper. One says yes, one says no, one says maybe. And we kind of turn them over like, you're playing poker and you show your hand. So we read the poem, and then we go, yes, no, maybe. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, they match, which is great. But if they're a maybe, we put...
Knowing you guys, I would imagine they do match, yes.
Yeah, but it just feels better, that you've got kind of a bit of backup. And if there's a maybe, we go back to them. But if I go no and Colette goes yes, and she feels strong about that yes, we'll argue it out. And usually if someone is adamant that it's a yes, even though the other person is no, it goes in. But that's very rare. That would only be 1 poem per issue that happens,
Who is the most?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you guys sat in chairs next to each other, rejected me together?
Well, the beautiful thing, Jack.
I mean, I would have thought she at least liked my stuff. I know you. You're a crotchety old fuck. So.
Well, the beauty is, Jack, because that is an awful thing. There's nothing worse than rejecting a friend. But to sort of ease that process, we read anonymously. So that probably doesn't help, actually. But in our heads, it helps. And we've had to be really strong about it because it is horrible. We've done it to quite a few people, and most people like you are okay. But we did lose a few friends.
Well,
I say friends, I mean Facebook acquaintances.
Yeah, sometimes we find out who our friends really are in mysterious ways, so that's okay. And I, as far as my work goes, I'm always in need of improvement. So I don't think twice about that. I realize that my writing, although it can be good at times, is not my forte.
Well, Jack, I would take comfort from the knowledge that I'm going to impart to you now, that I don't like the poetry of Seamus Heaney. So,
right, exactly.
I wouldn't fret too much getting a rejection from me. It doesn't mean a whole lot. It's very subjective. And
I wouldn't care if I got rejected by Seamus Heaney. So there.
Yeah. So,
let's don't talk about that fucking TS Eliot guy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know much about him, to be honest.
I really don't either, other than
Rock and the Wasteland.
I know that. I tried to read The Wasteland, and it was way too much for me at the time. And now I've vowed to never read T.S. Eliot ever again. So
yeah, I'm in all things, even films, music, to some degree. I like contemporary stuff. I don't like stuff from a while back, really. I like contemporary stuff, especially with art. But with
Well,
poetry,
and that's the whole point of the socially at distance is not only do we want to make a bridge between some of the older, like more respected and established stuff like the beats or, certain eras, but not only to bridge that between the contemporary and the older, but to also bridge like the education and the literary knowledge that's and how it varies around the world. I want to hear poetry from people in Ireland. I want to hear poetry from people in London. I want to hear poetry from people in Africa. One of the best poets I've read in a long time is a guy from Africa.
Diversity is the key.
Yeah, it really is, and that's when you start to realize, I believe, at least, that we're all saying the same shit.
Yeah, just in different ways.
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah, I think I've got one poem and I just keep rewriting it. It comes out in hundreds of different ways, but really it's the same poem.
Yeah, I'm working on a piece of myself about healing that comes with writing and journaling and all that kind of stuff. And when I think about my writing style, that's really what it is. What I sit down and work on now is a polishing of stuff I wrote 10 years ago.
That's an interesting thing to do.
In most cases, I'll go back and revisit it every once in a while, and I'll polish it and shape it. Or I'll go and find a piece that I think is complete, and I'll read it, and I'll say, wait a minute, it's not right. And then I start looking through my files, and I realize I have 32 copies of the same poem, and all of them are different.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think that's kind of because I tend to just have my latest thing, and I never go back. But maybe it is a good idea to go back and just
it's verbal. It's journaling. It's like verbal diarrhea. I free flow, get that shit out, and then I go back and it's like I'm rethinking. Okay, let me pare down what this emotion really was, or let me pare down what this situation is, or what are the colors, or what did it really look like or smell like, or take. That's when I start doing the refining. But that initial verbal vomit has to happen.
Has to come out. Yeah. I tend to leave it be, first thought, best thought, and it comes out and that's it. And I just leave them alone. I don't really.
And everybody's different about that, Yeah. I mean, I think that's the beauty of it, and that's the healing of it. Is it takes whatever form it takes for you.
Exactly. Everyone's different,
and that depends on whether you're an artist or whether you're just a participant.
Yeah, there's no right and no wrong.
Absolutely not.
Whatever works for you is correct.
I mean, there's certain some of the well-established beat poets, for example, drive me crazy. It's like, I don't want to hear jazz, dude. I want to hear about the outlaw who's, robbing the banks, or whatever the case might be.
The gritty stuff.
Well, I think that you have to pick up a book and be surprised, and that's the thing. It's like I judge a book by its cover, and then I dive in, and I realize that the cover may have something to do with it, but that's not the deal. These are actually the same words that I'm saying. These are the same words that so and so is saying. These are the same words that poet says. This is the same words that they said in 1800. And I don't mean same in a similar, like it's a tired idea, concept. It's just that the sickness has remained the same throughout time. And we have done, as poets or as writers or artists, done what we've always done with that.
Yeah, humans haven't really evolved, have they? It's
not really.
Still the same old shit. Hungry people, angry people.
Greed empowers the rule. That's,
Yeah.
So. I don't know, Badger. Do you have anything handy? You want to read any of your work? You got anything handy?
I can I read from?
Yeah, sure.
Because as you know, we published Fran Lock, who was TS Eliot prize listed for her book Hyena. How she didn't win that prize, that competition is beyond me. But anyway,
Yeah, we'll stand.
Shortlisted was good, but
I think I made my statements about him already. So
oh yeah, we've done Eliot. Anyway, one of the other shortlisters was Abigail Parry.
oh yeah, I know Abigail.
She sent us a poem, and it goes like this. It's called Oversight. Rilke had angels, had junctions of light, corridors, stairs, thrones. But look what we've got: the blue afternoon and the pavement, a pineapple soda, a hangover fit for two sinners, and man, did we earn it. Come on, let's go. Let's bother that seraph who's curled like a wretch on the stucco outside of the kingdom, all bed hair on one beamish buttock, a wing pulled over his head like a coverlet. Not now, he says, maybe later. Let's run along down to the cemetery then. Let's read all the stones. Let us pray that heaven will spare us the sudden, the solitary mirror. I know that you've seen it, old friend, and let's face it, the news is unkinder each day. So let's be thankful. Let's say that if we must do this, if we must rehearse our sensescence by feeling like death every weekend, for God's sake, let's do it together.
Very, very nice.
I love that.
You know, I always want to dig into her work, and I always forget. So I'm gonna make a note to do that today.
Yeah, me too, actually, because I keep meaning to get her book, and I haven't. I've heard her read a few times, and she's a mighty performer of her own work. But I do like her poetry.
Do you find that the whole TS Eliot experience has been beneficial or harmful in any way for you personally? Or as a publisher is really what I'm asking, not personally.
I think beneficial. I think for us, because we're so tiny, Jack, we're just two idiots in a front room, which is a converted bedroom with a table and no funding. And the only other Irish press that got shortlisted was Gallery Press, and they get €180,000 every year funding. €180,000. I don't know what the fuck they do with it. Like, so we get none. We get nothing, not a bean, not a penny, and yet we were there where they were. So on that level, it was really good and a huge miracle for us. But for Fran, it's her natural place to be. So it's different. I don't know why on earth she let us publish her, but it's such a kindness and such a crazy thing to do on her part. Honestly, mad, but that's what she's like. Not mad, but she will do what she feels is right, not what other people think is right. But what I'm trying to say is it was a huge deal for us. But for Fran, I think if she isn't winning the T.S. Eliot Prize, something wrong. So her being there was like, of course, why wouldn't she be? Have you seen her bloody book? Like,
Exactly.
It should be winning every prize. She's extraordinary. And I do feel gutted that she didn't win. Gutted.
Yeah.
Not delighted. Oh, wasn't that close? And wasn't it brilliant that we got shortlisted? Ultimately, for Fran, I feel gutted that she didn't win. How could she not fucking win?
Well, I think that's what puzzles me too, and knowing her the way I do, and so the audience knows we're talking about Dr. Fran Lock, who is a poet friend of ours from Ireland and lives in London. I think that her talent and her skill is so far above even the judges, in that I don't think that they even fully got it. And then there is that heartbreak, because I watched her go through that for years and years and years. I've watched her strive and struggle and work. And, that was never really a stated goal, but success in what her chosen craft was her stated goal.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you could get much taller in that goal than she has gotten, especially when you know her well enough to know where she's come from. So when you consider all those things together, I find it difficult to be able to say it's not a win for her. She chooses to see things differently, and it's her experience. She can have it however she wants. For you guys, I'd see it as a launch pad. I don't know if you see it that way. I mean, do you feel launches into the future because of that?
No, I think that for us, that was probably the pinnacle. That was the moment, and it's gone now. And I mean, the very first reports of all this was in The Guardian,
Yeah,
and they even got our name wrong, and we didn't. It registered with us, but I don't think the enormity of a tiny magazine, like it didn't even get reported. For me, that would have been the big story. This tiny press has got to the, like it's like your local team getting to the FA Cup final or something, We just literally flew under the radar, and nobody in Ireland, I think, even knew about it, and nobody in England cared. And so it was just a personal thing that I thought, this is amazing, and it did feel good, So, but it's not a launch pad for anything. It's not like, oh, Poetry Bus, can't wait to see what they're doing next. The Poetry Press, they want to watch.
So will your work carry on as it always has, the same way, or do you see yourself slowing down, speeding up, doing different things?
I think
more books even.
It's hard to keep going, Jack. It really is, because financially it's such a slog. If we could even get funding, even if the TS Eliot thing had meant that we could somehow get funded to some degree. I don't mean 180,000 a year. If they would give us 5,000, 2,000, just to take the pressure off of raising money all the time, to exist. It's tiring and it's tiresome, and I'm kind of sick of it. And we will probably keep going, but often I wonder what's the bloody point.
Yeah, I deal with that frustration too, and all I can tell you about that, my friend, is what I tell you about lots of things, and what you tell me in return is that you just got to keep going and value what you put into it and what the goal is, and just look forward and take advantage of whatever the opportunities are that come for you. And
I think that's what we're doing, is actually kind of enduring. It's almost like a stubbornness to not give in, to not let them win, to just keep doing it, like Sisyphus, getting up every morning, rolling that bloody stone back uphill. Just that sheer bloody mindedness to say, we're still here, you can't kill us, and we're not going away. Although I feel like going away, I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, and that's, I think whether or not we like to feel like going away is nobody's fucking business. Because we're here, and that's what they need to remember. And, I think it is key that, there's a tribal beat that we've all been hearing throughout time. And sometimes that beat escapes through voice, and how that voice is carried is a matter of economics. And I don't really care to dabble in those in environments unless I absolutely have to. And having to survive in order to do what I need to do or what I want to do is just a part of the game right now.
Yeah.
I've got to be a bit of a hawker. I've got to go back to selling timeshare for a minute. I gotta go back because I learned all those skills and things for a reason. And I'm cursing my own values and my own future by ignoring those things. Because I stuck it out this long. Why? I mean, what's the point in giving up now?
You got to keep going. What was that old Japanese warrior? Was it or something said? if you wait by the river long enough, the bodies of your enemies will float by.
Oh, bye.
And that's what we're doing. And a couple of them have already, like a couple of really shit magazines in Ireland that were really lauded and loved and funded, have gone by the wayside, you know. So that's two or more bodies have floated by.
Well, and
I'm running out of time, Jack. I'm running out of time. I can't wait.
I think that's part of what you and I are having to deal with is that, okay, yeah, we're running out of time. That's not the point. The point is the whole world is shifting. So, I mean, like, people aren't running to the magazine stand to grab a magazine, okay? No. There may be a loyal base who would do that or who would have you mail it to them or whatever the case might be, but there's hundreds of thousands more online somewhere if you can get to them.
Yeah, you know? I mean, maybe that's ultimately what we should do. It doesn't cost anything to publish online, but it's something so beautiful about a physical magazine, you know, so tactile and
well, what you do
on a shelf and something you can pick up, and
you just offer the customer the choice, you know. Do you want a version? Do you want to download one? It's that simple.
Yeah, you know? Maybe that's something to think about, you know.
Yeah, those are things to think about. But let's talk about this because I kind of want to make our announcement, Badger. What we've decided to do to the audience out there is Badger and I are going to meet together probably once every couple of weeks for about a 6-week period, and we're just going to go back and forth. We haven't come up with a name for the show, but it's going to be discussionary. It's going to be about poetry. It's going to be about his side of the ocean and my side of the ocean and what's going on in the rest of the oceans and anything we can put our fingers on that's related. So please stay tuned for that and be aware that it's coming. And we hope to be loud and obnoxious and fun and exciting and offering some opportunities along the way for those of you out there who are writers or are looking for different exposure to a different audience. You know, we open those doors to you as well. So keep your eyes peeled and we will keep you informed on that. Yeah. Anything you can say about that as well, Badger?
We could call it the shit show.
Well, I keep going back to something that Fran taught me a long time ago about, and I still don't know how to say it right. Schlacken and what is it? Schlacken and unity. Anyway, it's unity and service or something like that. And
I get you. Is that German or something?
No, it's like Gaelic shit. I can't.
Oh, right. Okay.
I can't pronounce it, but anyway. It was a good name. It was a good name. I swear it was. It'll go over.
Yeah.
It's Gaelic and nobody will have a fucking clue what it means. So unless they're Gaelic.
Well, that would be perfect.
Yeah. So it would be indicative of the participants of the show, at least.
Yeah. Because I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. So if people don't have a clue what the title is, it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah, we won't worry about all that. But the other important thing is I think that we want to tell folks about is that, you know, hopefully there'll be folks on your side of the pond that'll want to come and talk about their releases or poetry or that kind of thing. Or, you know, say as well.
Definitely.
So we can bounce some poets between us and kick them across the water back and forth. And help with some.
Sounds like a plan.
That's the whole deal. Ultimately, is we want to sell some books for these people who aren't selling their books and help the publishers who aren't getting the help they need, like Badger and some of the small presses that we deal with here in the States all the time. So we want to offer a medium for that, and I'm proud that you want to be a part of that, Badger.
Well, thanks for hosting us, Jack. You do work hard to spread the word for poets and poetry, you know.
Well, somebody's got to do it, man, and got to keep them out of jail, you know. All right, my brother. Anything you got to highlight? Anything coming up? What's the next step for the Poetry Boss? Is there anything in the plans?
I suppose shortly now we'll probably go back to asking for poems again, opening submissions, and getting another boss on the road.
Maybe we'll do a competition through the podcast or something. Get some submissions as well. Have people call in and read their bad poetry to us, and we can reject them live in person.
We could do live poetry submissions. That would be
with a dumb show or something.
I tell you, it'd almost be interesting to see the person's reaction, because usually that's the end of the communication. They send you a poem, you reject it. Occasionally they'll come back at you, with some "how dare you"
some justification of how great that poem was.
do you know who I am? That kind of thing. So that might be something that could be, somebody to suffer misery live on air. People love that kind of thing, don't they? Could be like Big Brother House.
We could take all of the rejections, and you could act as a character of the one who's being rejected.
Yes. Jesus.
If we need your wife, we'll bring her in as well.
Yes. If there's any trouble.
That's for sure. All right, my brother. Well, I don't know if there's anything else important today, but if there is, speak up now, because we're going to call it quits.
Well, if people could go to our website and buy a copy of, we're on the 4th print run of Fran's Hyena, and obviously it's a bit of an investment every time you get another batch, so we'd be looking to hopefully sell them to get our money back and everything, so that would be nice.
I'll make sure I include a link with all the description and stuff in the YouTube, so we can do that. And I'll promote it. I haven't gone on another re-promotion tour of that since TS Eliot, so
yes.
I'll do that as well.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be punished for TS Eliot and his crafty remarks. All right, Badger. Well, I appreciate you, brother, and I will talk to you over the course of the next week. Stay right there. We're going to tell everybody else goodbye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming and hanging out. We appreciate you being here, and stay tuned for me and Badger later on. And I've got several other interviews coming up this coming week. Book releases from Dan Fiore, I believe it's tomorrow. And a couple of other things we have lined up. So stay tuned. Come back, see us. Thanks. Love you. See you. God bless you. Ciao. Bye.